Welcome to Base Space, a crypto podcast. Base Space.
Yeah, I guess we'll just run it, and yeah, people join in. That's totally cool, guys. I also pinned the promo tweet at the top of the space. Big help. Y'all could retweet, just spread it around a little bit. Goes a long way.
Yeah, we'll get that going on our side too.
Yeah, we also record these Quaison, so it'll be on like the YouTube channel.
Cool.
As well. We'll be able to promote it there.
Nice.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, so a little bit of background, I guess, for you on like these spaces. I don't know, are you familiar at all with like the base space, or have you tuned into any of our episodes before?
I've popped in a few spaces. I think I popped in when you were like early on too, like when you were first like starting. I vaguely remember that. But yeah, so I pop in and out. I don't think I've stayed like for a full one. You do the marathon runs sometimes.
Yeah. Well, basically, the history of the space for you is, I basically got into like the Twitter Spaces beta like super early,
Right.
so I was like the only one.
That's probably why. I was just
Twitter.
like, oh wait, who's this only person with a Twitter space in here?
I was legit the only one that had it, and so like I would host a space, and like all the homies would just join in, and we would meet everyone on Twitter. And yeah, so that's how the space started. That's how I met Super. That's how I met like Chase, our other co-host, who was on here regularly. And yeah, man, we just kind of eventually like decided to take the route of turning the space into like more of an educational forum. So we've had everyone from Jay, I'm sure you know Jay, from Ava Labs.
Yeah.
We've had people like we had Jiho on super early, which was crazy. We've had like the founder of Alliance Block on. And I guess, we've probably had like 50 plus episodes at this point of different projects and protocols coming on the space. So.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude. I'm enjoying it. It's a ton of fun just meeting everyone. And, it's just such a global community, right? So you get so many different cultures and perspectives in it. I just thoroughly enjoy it.
How long have you been in the space here? I'm gonna start interviewing you randomly. Like, how long have you been in the space? Like, kind of like where does your just general background, or are you coming in from the DGen side? Where are you currently working in the space outside of just supporting the community?
Yeah, I was really first exposed to crypto, I would say in like 2017, during that whole bull run. And ramp up. I actually initially, funny enough, I thought like crypto was like a scam. So like, I was like one of those people. I was like super skeptical about crypto. I was seeing like one of my homies at work was doing like all these things with the huge ICO boom that was happening at the time.
Good times.
I was like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. What is going on here? He's like, "No, we just ate this, right? Just ate this."
Don't ask questions. Get in, loser. We're making money.
That was kind of like what he was telling me. Yeah. So really got in like around that time. Funny enough, I initially purchased crypto on Robinhood. So I'm like also one of those people that Robinhood introduced me to crypto. So I actually still have all of my original Bitcoin and Ethereum like trapped on my Robinhood.
You actually don't own, in reality, you actually don't own any Bitcoin or Ethereum because Robinhood has them custodied and you'll never be able to touch them. I thought they rolled that out. They haven't rolled that out as of yet, for you to be able to.
I honestly don't know. I don't log into my Robinhood account, so it's just kind of chilling. Like I have like a bunch of stocks that I was doing some like stock trading on there at one point, and I purchased a bunch of crypto, and I've just been letting it ride, to be honest.
I dig it. No, my family would always just hit me up. It was like, hey, should I buy this stuff on Robinhood? And I said, no. Like, it's just like one of those hard no's. And I just like, I will hang up the phone on you and never speak to you ever again if you buy anything off Robinhood. It's actually pretty funny. I don't want, because then they're going to complaining to me that why they can't get their money out. So.
Yeah, I feel you. I only point people there if they tell me, oh, I don't want to sign up for exchange. I've had that barrier before, where people just don't want to even sign up for anything. I'm like, okay, like the least they could do is probably purchase whatever coins are on Robinhood,
Right.
You know, it's better than the money sitting in your bank account at this point.
That's true,
So,
right?
you
The
know.
dollar's going to zero.
Yeah. What about you, Quaison? How'd you get started in crypto?
Yeah, I'm like one of those people who like I swear I tell myself I didn't get in early, and then when I start talking about it, I realize like I got in, relatively early. So, I found out about it in around 2012. One of my good friends was dating an engineer at Microsoft, and he was buying his drugs off Silk Road. Um, and they she was he was like telling me like kind of what this thing is, and I was like, no, I'm good with the drugs. What is this Bitcoin thing that you're buying this stuff with? um and then early 2013 is when like Coinbase launched, and it was like one of those moments where it's like, I'll take a bet. And that's pretty much kind of how I got in. Like, I bought a bunch of Bitcoin around then. Um and that was around the time where everybody thought Satoshi, it was like maybe like a year later too. I can't remember the timeline specifically, but within that timeline of the next like 3 years, um, people thought Satoshi was an actual Japanese person, this random guy who lived in, I guess, was it California, if you remember. um,
Yeah, I remember that.
so like the price had ramped up. It was at time covered, reached like $1,000, and then it dumped hard. And then when it dumped hard, I think I sold like 80% of my Bitcoin to it's like one of those like really shitty stories. Like, I sold 80% of it to this stupid website that promised that it can like you put in like X parameters and it would just spin up a website for you. It was like an AI based website, and 2014, something like that, something stupid back then. And they said, oh, we could do it for 1 Bitcoin. Like, they were taking Bitcoin, and I I
Oh my
to this
God.
day, I like, it's like one of those things like, oh wow, I got rugged in 2014, because first of all, who would have thought to have taken Bitcoin at that date and time? So I tell a lot of people who are new in the space, it's like, you're not actually a part of the space until you get rugged at some point in time. I just got rugged really, really early. So yeah, forgot about it for a little while. Then like 2017 came in. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I still have a little bit here in my Coinbase. Like a week later, Ethereum popped up. I'm sitting in my office and like really looking at the Ethereum white paper, and I'm like, this shit is interesting. And then just dumped in, and yeah, that's longer story short. After that, I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm also super curious. Like, how did you make your way over to like the Avalanche ecosystem then?
Yeah. I think I have a knack. So just generally speaking, my background is in advertising. You know, I went to an engineering school and then decided that I hated engineering. I went to NJIT. I'm based in Jersey. Um, and then I immediately kind of hopped into advertising and kind of worked my way up. I worked at all the like really, really big agencies, worked on all the really big campaigns for like Burger King, um, Macy's, Sprints, doing mainly as a digital producer. So like I was always like building out web products. Um, and I was always just trying to be ahead of the tech, and I think that's the reason why I ended up in Bitcoin. That's the reason why like I went so deep into Ethereum early on. That's the reason why I got so deep into DeFi like almost immediately, when kind of Uniswap hit the market, in Compound. But with Avalanche, I think it was like late 2017, maybe 2018 when the white paper hit. I was reading about the Avalanche consensus, and then the Team Rocket paper that mysteriously showed up, which I really just think is Kevin and Emin just trying to be anonymous, talking about talking about Avalanche and kind of how they figured out their novel consensus mechanism. And I said, oh, wait a minute, this could actually be a thing. And literally just had to wait a couple years, right? Until like August of last year, where they actually launched. And the second they launched, I just aped in, and I said, I believed in the white paper so much. And it's kind of been one of those things where that I just held that conviction, and kind of got rewarded for it. Same thing with some of the other projects within the Avalanche ecosystem. And I think it's true. Like time in the market with any halfway decent product beats like trying to time the market itself with trades. And, I learned that really, really quickly. But with Avalanche, I think it's definitely one of the most competitive layer one out there. Right. I think they're the ones that have probably the best opportunity to compete with Ethereum, and even in a longer run to actually like take over. Like it took me a while to even get to a point where I could say that, but I'm starting to be able to say that with confidence, just from the point of view of not just the technology, but their business development team is like they're a bunch of sharks, man. Every 2 seconds you're seeing Avalanche is doing something crazy that no one else in the space has been able to do, from a business development side, from a partnership side. And I think that bodes well to expanding crypto into the real world.
Yeah, no, definitely. I personally see Avalanche as the only competitor right now to Ethereum.
I agree.
Just because it's taken way too long for E2. And I get it. Obviously, I'm not a dev, so I don't know how hard it really is to achieve what they're trying. But, yeah, no, I agree. Avalanche is still
it's the decentralized nature of Ethereum, right? And then also it's that issue of like the first person out the gate gets shot, right? Ethereum was the first out the gate to create smart contracts, right? So they don't know what they don't know they didn't know what they didn't know in terms of like how to build and what this was going to become. They didn't, I'm sure Vitalik didn't assume it would grow this big this quickly. And he always gives the phrase of like, it's trying to get to ETH2 is like trying to change the jet engine mid-flight, right? And the challenge more, in my opinion, with ETH and specifically ETH2, and then when sharding comes into play, is even when ETH2 hits, Avalanche, Polkadot, they're already better even when ETH2 hits, and that's like, oh crap, right? Because you have parachains, you have subnets, right? And sharding only does one aspect of that in terms of the scalability, but when it comes to kind of rolling out different forms of governance, like that's they're already ahead. They're already a Gen 3, and we don't have to talk about Cardano here, but and the shit show that's become, but that's a story for another day.
I mean, we're Cardano maxis, right?
Nah.
That's all we hold.
I have IRL try to convince me, and I'm just like, I'm not there on it.
So
and he's like, just buy.
I will tell you, Cardano. Shout out to Charles Hoskinson, because Charles Hoskinson has done well for me. Like I found Cardano when it first rolled out, right? Like it was. I didn't even like read. I'm like, I am really a degen at heart, right? In 2017, all I saw was Ethereum co-founder creates new coin, and I said yes, and then I just bought a ton of Cardano and wrote it out all the way through up last year. I still hold a shit ton of it, and holding it back from when it was like 10 cents, and then even in 2020 when it buying more when it was 2 cents, it did me well from a financial point of view. Now, do I think in the long run that they're going to do well? No, I think Avalanche is what Cardano thinks it is, right? In terms of how they execute, and in terms of the opportunities that they've provided. And the big thing is that Ava Labs, even Emin Gun, he's abstracted himself away from being like the savior of the platform with Ava Labs. Like, you hear from him and he's the founder, but like everything lives and breathes under Charles Hoskinson, whether you want to or not. And IOHK is kind of just this random thing. Whereas on the Avalanche side, Ava Labs is just like, they're just monsters. I just love those guys. Like, if you're trying to build, I don't know if anybody in here is trying to build, like if you're trying to build something on the Avalanche ecosystem, it's like super easy to get in touch with the Ava Labs team. And if you're building anything halfway decent, they throw like their entire team at you and saying, how can we help? And that's strong ecosystem growth, right? Like, no one else is doing that. I don't know how to get in contact with anybody at IOHK. It's almost like a, ivory tower type situation over there.
Yeah, dude, we're kind of going off on Avalanche right now, but I love communicating with Jay over there. Like, he's so easy to hit up. I'm like, hey, I want to connect with this Avalanche project. Can you help us out? Like, I second everything you said about the team. Like, that's in general just been my experience.
And then you find out like everybody over there are like true kill. Like Jay, I think he was like on the founding team for WBTC or something like that. Like something crazy where you're like, wait a minute, like everybody in here knows what they're doing. They've done this before. Oh, this is bound to succeed. There is no such thing for failure. An avalanche is definitely coming.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I regret selling. Oh, go ahead, me too. My bad.
No, go for it.
No, I had obviously bought like the knockoff punks, the AVAX.
Me
punks.
too. I got rugged on that one. There was two of them. Did you know that?
Yeah.
There was like a fake one and a real one.
I did. The later one apparently was a real one, which was so weird. But that's the one I bought. Me and my friend Don. But I made some money on it, made some AVAX, and then I just decided to degen around with the AVAX. Didn't fully realize,
what it was going to
be. AVAX was. Yeah, and I was like, shit.
I definitely got rugged on the original AVAX punks for sure. But then again, like I probably own every single AVAX project, NFT project that's out there. Like half of what we do is just like play. Half of what I do specifically is just like I'm just buying every single NFT project because the ecosystem is so small right now and so engaged that all we want to do is support each other. It's like not competitive at all. It's like the weirdest thing. Everybody's in love with each other, so all we do is support each other's projects.
Well, not only that, I mean, and that's a beautiful thing too, is the support in the community. But when normies decide that they want to start interacting with DeFi and Web3, they're not going to want to pay ETH's gas fee, so they're going to look at the second best option. And that, in my eyes, I think we can agree on that, is Avalanche.
For sure.
So those NFT projects, a lot of them will blow up just because people want to get involved in NFTs regardless. And now that they can buy them, frictionless and cheap with transaction fees, I mean, if it looks good, it'll probably blow up.
Well, I think speaking into answering your original question about why, like how we ended up on Avalanche or how I ended up on Avalanche more than anything, it's just paying attention to kind of how money flows and how money flows through ecosystems, right? So it's kind of like the same in, I guess, the real world, right? What do people do when they have a lot of money? They start spending it on real world JPEGs, right? Like they start spending it on paintings and art and things of that nature. And when Avalanche's DeFi started rolling out, I started seeing the traction that started to build with the DeFi systems in Avalanche, and I said, whoa, the dexes are clean. There's real innovative projects happening here. People are going to make money. Like there's yield being generated over here. Okay, that means there's going to be a market for more fun, creative things around art and around gaming, because that's just the second people have a shit ton of money, the first thing that they do is they start spending it on things that are ancillary things or things that they don't necessarily need for their day to day.
And I totally agree with that because I don't have a huge portfolio, but I had made some money through the bull market. And especially on Avalanche because of those punks. And then I bought something else, some other NFT project that I sold. Anyway, so then I just started spending the money on something dumb. And I'm like, wait, I could use this money.
And you forget it.
But
I
know.
I tell my team all the time, and I was like, stop pricing things in USD. Only price it in Avalanche or in the native token. But sometimes that's like the bad advice because you don't realize how much money you're spending when you're kind of going deep in some of these projects.
Yeah, I know. I was buying I forget what he's on ETH, but it's just like point something ETH, point something ETH, and you're like, yeah, that's nothing. The next thing you know, you spent a couple grand on ETH NFTs, and you're like, wait a second, what am I doing?
For sure.
But yeah,
there's a go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's a tool where you can track like how much gas you've spent on ETH before, and I looked at it the other day and I almost got sick, and I was just like,
yeah,
especially during DeFi summer. I don't know if anybody in the space was around during DeFi summer, like specifically when there was just a whole bunch of YF clones, right? So, Yearn rolled out, and then everybody just started creating every single version of that. Like, I was deep in that space as well. Like, I was kind of helping out different projects like Ample, and YF Beta was one where I was kind of helping out. And just the gas fees were just ridiculous. And you realize, like, wow, man, I just spent like a Jeep on gas fees over the past year and a half.
Damn. Yeah, no, it can get outrageous for sure. But bringing that back to why Avalanche is a real competitor is you don't have that on Avalanche. It's so smooth and it's so cheap, and sometimes you forget what you're doing because it's so cheap and you don't have time to realize what you're transacting on.
Oh,
Sometimes,
for sure. It's the
know.
credit. It's the one click pay. It's like the Amazon quick buy where you don't realize, like, you don't have to go through any friction, and you
Yeah.
just start having so much good interactions. Like, for example, on ETH, when you're doing like DeFi transactions on the Ethereum network, right? You have to be very like, all right, is this how much I want to move? Is that how much I want to
Mm-hmm.
move? Like, you have to be very
Yeah.
clear because, it's going to cost you anywhere from 10 to 150 bucks in order to make this transaction. Whereas, like, I'm just kind of like flipping around and on Avalanche. I was like, oh, no, I didn't get the full thing I wanted. Oh, let me just move the whole thing back. Oh, no, let me move this back. And it's like, oh, that only cost me $1 or 13 cents. And I don't know if you saw the latest update. They were able to drop their fees even more, right?
I did not see that.
Yeah, so they have, I forgot it's like a peach tree or something like. I keep forgetting the name of it. Sometimes they have like really funny updates. But the gas fees actually got dropped even more a couple weeks ago. People were complaining about it, and the devs they fixed it, right? So super nimble team, super active.
Oh yeah. Well, Quaison, while I have you here talking about NFTs, for those that don't know, can you describe what Lost Worlds is at a high level?
Yeah. So, hi everybody. My name is Quaison. So I'm the CEO of Lost Worlds. Lost Worlds, at its simple form, is just a location-based NFT platform. The through line to that is what we're trying to do is we're trying to find ways of bringing NFTs into the real world. So we created this platform where we can drop NFTs at geographically bound locations, right? So we could drop an NFT and have it bounded to a specific lat long, and you have to be there in order to mint them, right? So a lot of people give different parallels of saying, oh, that's like Pokemon Go, right, for NFTs. Or if you're in the native crypto space, it's like, oh, that's like POEP, but way better because it's not a QR code. It's associated to your phone, right? So what we're doing is we're bringing NFTs into the real world with geographical boundedness, with location based NFTs, and then there's like a whole bunch of other kind of cool factors that we've added onto it, including yield generating capabilities for projects that launch on our platform. So that is what Lost Worlds is at a high level, location based NFTs.
Yeah, and I think that's super cool. I was actually talking to my boss earlier, right, and we're a NFT game of sorts, and I was like, we could totally do this at like conventions, right, from like a marketing standpoint.
For sure.
Drop an NFT drop at the convention, and you've already got thousands of people there, hundreds of people there, and they see it, and you're like, oh, wait a second. And then everybody becomes a part of that, and now you got more organic growth for your project or any project, really.
Yeah. So I mean, we're still technically in beta. We haven't done our official launch. Like that launch will probably coincide with our IDO, but we went mainnet to test like our application on mainnet. We've been on testnet in our Discord where people have been kind of playing on the Fuji testnet as well as on some like local testnets. But we went mainnet, and as opposed to like just going mainnet and kind of having people play in beta with real money, we dropped a bunch of NFTs at Decentral Miami in partnership with the Pangolin team, right? So we were able to drop like a rare Pangolin NFT right on their booth at the Central Miami, and people were kind of flocking and minting. And then, we have a secondary marketplace, so people from all over the world were trying to buy one of the 20 rare pangolin NFTs on the secondary marketplace. Those who shan't be named, some people on our team kind of minted one of them and kind of sold it back for like 6 or 7 AVAX after minting it for one, which was hilarious. So, people are making profits out here.
Yeah, that's definitely super cool. And like, I know a lot of people just think about the short term, but think about the long term of this. Like, you're breaking ground in a new space and with new technology. Like 5 years from now, if you say you own that one from the the Miami show, that's like almost like a timestamp in time. It I don't know. It's so cool to me.
Yeah, you're hitting like really important points, right? You're hitting like multiple points, right? Even working backwards, like the point of the idea that there's a stamp in time, right? The lat long and the location of where that NFT was minted is stored on chain, right? So when you mint it, all of that is on chain. So it's proof that you were there, and that proof is there forever, right? Because it's immutable. It's on the blockchain, and there's so many things that you can do with that, just as an idea as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's super special, and it's really a really cool time that we're in, just to see like bright minds create projects like these. Like, I don't know, when I was growing up, I never really thought stuff like this would be possible, and then it happens. So I think that's really cool. And so I know it's merging like the physical and the digital realms. And I know you guys are still in beta, but do you guys think that maybe in the future with say like augmented reality, would you be able to throw glasses on and say there's like a huge tower where the station is, and it almost is like that Pokemon Go, like gyms
No,
tower or whatever.
yeah, you're hitting our roadmap, right? So one, I'll explain it this way in terms of how we see the world, right? Everybody's been talking about the metaverse, right? And when they think about the metaverse, they're thinking all the way at the end, where it's you're plugging yourself up into the freaking matrix at this point, right? And you're living in this kind of different world, right? All of a sudden, the metaverse conversation has made me realize like how real the matrix probably is. But that world, in my opinion, is like 3 or 4 generations away, right? Where we're fully there, because there's a few things that have to get adjusted, right? One, I don't think anybody in this space I don't think mentally we'd be able to be comfortable with like booting our entire consciousness into like some form of virtual reality kind of situation. The Neuralink is coming out right now. Like, there's all this stuff, but I don't think our psyches can handle it, right? I think we have to get eased into it. So that's one aspect of it. And then two, just the technology isn't there yet, right? We may have the visual aspects of VR specifically, and I'll get into the AR side in a second, but the VR aspect of it is the visual side might be there, right? And the computer vision side might be there. But, when it comes to haptic feedback and kind of tying that back into the visual responses, we're still a little bit of ways, right, off from that. So in the interim, I think that this world of AR and rich AR experiences is what's really going to drive the true concept of the metaverse, right? I hate using the word metaverse. We have our own name for it. We call it like the lost layer, right? But it's a cheap way of saying it's our own enclosed system that allows you to have those experiences in the both physical and digital world. So I think that hybrid, everybody uses the term Ready Player Go, world is more real. But we want to make sure we're thinking about it kind of in the present moment, as opposed to some crazy potentiality or future reality where it looks like the Fifth Element or something like that, right? Like, it's more along the lines of, how do we integrate brands into this? How do we integrate day-to-day experiences into this? How do we enhance your real world experience with digital additives, right? And that's kind of the way that we've been thinking about it. And so when it comes to the AR side, we've been right now everything is on a 2D map, and we've been engaging a number of partners in terms of what that would look like, and it is on our roadmap. Um, from the point of view of the phone, right now you can just use the phone's camera, where like you're moving the phone and you're at a location like the Empire State Building, and then oh wow, the camera's showing you the NFT. Right now, if the tooling gets to a place where maybe Google Lenses come back, and they come back in a good way, then we can utilize glasses and computer from that point of view. And I think those would be cool ways. But we want to move from the point of view of reality of where the tech is right now. Even AR right now is kind of clunky. So I'm kind of optimizing for the best UX in today's time.
Yeah, I think you hit multiple great points, and I definitely agree that I don't think that the technology is necessarily there yet, but I think that obviously it's the start of something brand new, and that it will be there, and that's super exciting as well. And back on the whole point of like humans not being ready to hook up their consciousness to basically the metaverse, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of, I mean, and this is just my opinion, but like moral ifs with me of doing that, but that just depends on the person.
Yeah.
But it starts to merge into, like you were saying, like the Matrix being real. Like if you can upload your consciousness onto the blockchain or onto the metaverse, then I mean technically wouldn't you live forever, or you could switch through worlds? And
oh man,
yeah,
we could have a whole conversation about that. Like I literally
Yeah.
hit me the other day, and I was just like, wait a minute. Like between Neuralink and you in essence having a software system in you running your body, right, controlling your functionality, and it could be your mental functionality too, and you being able to transfer into a digital reality. In essence, humans just end up becoming a battery pack, right? Especially with AI, like with so you know I'm also a conspiracy theorist to high hell, so I'm I lend myself to those types of ideas. But like for me, I just like, wait a minute, how does that not happen at this point? It freaks me out. Or Elon Musk always talks about how AI is his biggest fear, and like I'm starting to see how that can become a reality, and I'm like, ugh. But yeah, doesn't mean you shouldn't use
Yeah.
Lost Worlds though.
No, for sure. I think not that we'll be forced to be using things like this or technology like this, but it'll just become a way of life, and it'll just
Yeah,
created with like how we do our day to day, basically.
for sure. You can't operate in at least America without a credit card, right? And it's just because of the nature of all of the on and off ramps and being able to like access certain things. And I think as the norm starts to evolve with the technology, you'll start finding that with AR, VR, with implants. Like say for example, if the Neuralink kind of becomes commonplace, right, where all the smart kids in the school in your college have it, like you won't be able to compete with them unless you get it. And it just creates this prisoner's dilemma where eventually everybody has to kind of upload themselves. And then again, our phones are in essence like computers that we're attached to. So
yeah, no, and I agree with you. And that's just like those steps, like the evolution of technology. But I also think that it can be used for good. I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy over here.
for sure.
And you had mentioned like brands using Lost Worlds to kind of expand themselves, and that goes into my next question. So you can do music and video and art and fashion, game avatars, like all this is on your website as well. Do you guys see yourself being as like the one-stop shop for people to and upload all these drops geographically into say different cities, and then eventually I guess all around the world?
Yeah. So our business it's funny. Like when we first came up with the idea for the business, we just had we had like one project that we wanted to do, right? We wanted to do, and it ended up becoming portals. If you look in the audience there, you can see portals. We just announced the Twitter handle for it today. So if anybody wants to follow it to stay up to date with kind of what's going on there, that just got launched like a couple hours ago. But it was just one project where we said, what if we dropped a bunch of NFTs at a bunch of random landmarks And we created a lore around each landmark. It was like, what would happen if, you know, the Hagia Sophia was overtaken by ICE, or the Louvre, all the anarchists took over the Louvre, right? And then just showcasing what those NFTs would actually look like. But the only way you get those NFTs is if you actually go there, right? So you have to experience that landmark and then collect this NFT so you can imagine what it would be like as you're collecting the NFT, right? Bringing these digital experiences into the real world, or the real world to digital experiences. And in that, we just, as we're building this idea, we started coming up with like another idea, and then another idea, and then another idea, and then we started realizing, it's like, wait a minute, we can't keep up with the amount of ideas that come out of this. Maybe we should turn this into a platform. And then allow other people to come up with ideas, right? And give other people and creators the opportunity to utilize this as a tool to express themselves, and to utilize location as a means of both creation and scarcity, right? Because it adds a new level of scarcity with location boundedness. So we're a platform, right? And we're a curated platform, meaning that we allow we kind of gate what creators can come on the platform for many reasons. And then we also have our relationships with brands. And there's two ways that happens. It's either they come directly onto the platform, the lostworlds.io platform, or whatever it may be. But then also we can white label these solutions. You know, I can't name them publicly here, but we're in talks with, you know, a well-known QSR, quick service restaurant, to drop NFTs at all their locations in the country, right, in the United States. And it wouldn't sit on the Lost Worlds platform. It would be a custom solution, right? They would have their own landing page and their own microsite, I should say, and you know, it would have a fiat to crypto gateway. These are things that we don't know if this will actually happen, but we've been getting interest like that all the time. Like I have calls, like one to two calls a week with some brand or agency that sees the value of this. So as much as we say like we're the one-stop shop, I think it's less of the fact that we're one-stop shop. We're the only people that can actually deliver on it at the moment, right? So we'll probably end up being the one-stop shop until somebody else can deliver on it, and then we'll welcome them, and then we'll beat them because we're probably better.
I love that. Maybe you had something that you would add.
Say that again.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, how are you guys like going about like proving that a user is actually at that location? You know, I for one am a little bit tech savvy and can like manipulate my phone
For
to
sure.
think that I'm at certain places, right?
For sure.
How are you guys getting around
Yeah,
that?
in essence, you're trying to figure out how do we get around location spoofing. So like there's different ways that we go about doing that, right? And if on the current version, the beta version, obviously we haven't rolled all of that out as of yet, and that's like some of the different implementations that we're walking through at the moment. But at a high level, what we end up doing is that when you kind of are within a range, or not kind of, when you are within range of an NFT, what we do is we collect a set of location data from the front end of our app, and that information is sent to our validators, right? So like a Lost Worlds validator. Right now, the validator is ran by the Lost Worlds team. Eventually, that could be ran by different nodes on a network for whatever it may be. But those validators are running various anti-spoofing mechanisms, right? And those spoofing mechanisms range from the basic kind of IP checks, but then it's like, okay, but you could spoof your IP check. So we have different forms of validators that run through. Some of them include similar things to Pokemon Go, that we're running in. Especially as we get into an app, we'll be able to kind of implement that even more. Some of them I obviously can't share because then it becomes like secret sauce, and then you could like reverse engineer it. One thing that I would say, and this is the thing that I always like to try to caveat to people, right, is we're not like a proof of location platform. We're not foam. We're not trying to compete with a foam. Like we're not trying to do on-chain location-based services or decentralized. We're not trying to do decentralized location-based protocol services. only because of the fact that there's a bunch of companies that are already doing it. In terms of the tech and the experience, is very much like a Pokemon Go, right? There's a lot of friction in order to get to a location from Pokemon Go. And if you really, 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 really want to get there, if you want to break out an emulator and then you want to kind of mask your IP, if you want to in order to like break our system, you have to reverse engineer about like 4 or 5 things. And theoretically, you can do it, but you actually have to know how to do it, right? It's actually kind of hard to do, right? So that's where we're at. And then also we're always at the cutting edge of it. I'll say it here. I know we're recording, but I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but we are working with some of the bigger platforms. We just haven't officially announced it yet in terms of bringing some of those location-based services. Foursquare, you didn't hear that from me, but those are the types of kind of technical services that we're bringing on our platform in order to help with the anti-spoofing or the location spoofing.
That's super cool.
My bad, me too. Just real quick, are you guys gonna eventually have a token? Because I might want to invest in that.
Yeah, we are. I guess this is alpha, right? Like we will be doing a token launch. It'll probably be in the next sometime early Q1, right? It's an active thing that's happening behind the scenes right now. It'll coincide with kind of just more of a ramp up of what we're doing as a platform. That is to say, we also have like our own internal projects, which are their own NFT drops. Like I keep mentioning portals that you guys can see there. And you could check out some of the videos and some of the cool creative stuff that's happening there. But yeah, so there will be a token, the lost token for now, right? That's kind of what we're going with, and yeah, there's tons of kind of cool stuff that's coming down the pipeline with that one.
Yeah, that's definitely exciting. Because a lot of the NFT or even gaming projects, I know you guys aren't a gaming project, but that we've had on, typically just blow up after we've had them on. So I don't want to make that mistake, twice, 3 times. And plus, you guys just have a really cool project that you're doing, and I really like it. So
yeah, we appreciate it, man. Like, look, we're trying to do something that hasn't been done in this space, but that's obviously needed. Somebody reminded us that we're building a primitive in this space. If you look at my Twitter bio, I say I like building NFT and DeFi Lego blocks, and that's what this is. This is a potential Lego block into the space. This is something that kind of adds a different layer of utility and functionality for NFTs. And we want as many people as possible to help us, right? And that would be really, really cool if we can get as many people in the community to help us who have questions that want to jump in from there as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we actually ask a lot of the projects that we have on if they're hiring, just because a lot of our users want to get interacted with Web3 and just work in the space. And what positions do you guys have open? What do you guys need help with?
Community managers. Really, that's kind of the thing that we need a lot of help with right now is our team, we're a nimble team, and we're just like building left and right. And, if you know me, like I'm kind of a little filter. Sometimes I'm a little filter. It depends. I'm being recorded now, so I'm more filtered than normal. But normally what we're looking for is somebody to really help foster and engage our community. Like I haven't even red-pilled you guys on some of the opportunities that Lost Worlds presents that you haven't even like thought about, right? Because if you think about what location-based NFTs are, location-based NFTs really mean that there is a place in which people can gather in one spot in order to obtain some digital token. And that digital token has a utility that says you have rights to this, i.e., it could be a DAO, right? So you can have location-based DAOs or community-based DAOs, right? Where if people are surrounding, like you get an NFT that anybody who holds the New York City NFT is a part of the New York City DAO, right? And maybe there's only a limited amount of them that are there, and you now have a sub DAO that's sitting under the Lost Worlds token. But how do you fostering those things is really hard in the beginning, especially like as we're rolling out slowly. So we need people who kind of get it and can kind of think on their feet to help kind of blow that up, right? There's so many cool things that can be done there.
Yeah, that almost just reminds me of like empire building, right?
Yeah.
So say New York City first, and then it's the other 49 cities, and then small communities around that. Technically, Lost Worlds could be the government. No, I'm playing. But
I didn't want to tell you that, right? Like if you really,
yeah,
if you think about like kind of the different approaches to when you think about like, oh, how is Lost Worlds a metaverse? You start realizing like, wait a minute, right now you could be standing on an NFT. You in another dimension, there's NFTs on you in the world in which you live, and the way that you access that dimension is through the web app, right? But it's right on you. It's its own metaverse, but the metaverse is like in your real world. You just can't see it unless you have access to it from your phone.
Yeah, no, that is so interesting to me. So I saw that you allow minter royalties, minter dividends, and then local payouts. And I kind of wanted to just ask a few questions on that. One, is there any sort of limit? Say I went to my closest city and there was a drop. Is there any cap on the amount that I can buy, or I can just buy them all up? Or
Yeah, good question. So, just really referring back to the fact that we are a platform, and this is something that we've had a hard time really teasing out because of the fact that we are a platform, but we also have our internal projects. So people conflate the two. And because we're a platform, we don't really have that many. We only give parameters for projects on our platform, right? So one project that we have, Portals, that's there, right? Minter royalties, another word for minter royalties, sorry, not minter royalties, minting dividends is what we call them. Another word for that is reflections. Like if you guys see reflectionary contracts where a percentage of the total mint is reflected back to the users based off of how much they mint. It's up to the project what they feel that reflection should be, right? It's really up to the minter, right? When it comes to it's up to the minter, it's up to the project in terms of how many of those NFTs actually can get minted per user, right? For Portals, there is no limit. Like if you wanted to go there, you can mint as many as you want, and you can sell them on to the secondary market, right? We think there's enough of each individual ones there. Right now, we're just experimenting with what works until there. We added a bonding curve towards the landmarks, in order to kind of prevent people from kind of just aping in and just buying up the whole thing. And there's just other forms of mechanisms, but right now, because it's early on, we're doing different types of experiments to play around with that. But other projects can kind of play and put whatever form of mechanisms, DeFi mechanisms, within the parameters that we give them on the platform.
I see. Yeah, no, and that makes sense too, because like you can't control everybody.
Exactly.
But I did have another question about the big payday.
Yes.
So can you elaborate how that works? What percentage or what amount of money do the stakeholders get? What does it pay out in?
Yeah, big payday is like my favorite thing. So I don't know, like this is like, again, big payday was something that I came up with from me being a filthy degen. All right, I don't know if you guys ever got into Hex. Some people love it as a scam, and they talk about scam. And like when Hex first launched, they had this thing called a big payday, and all big payday was this event trigger that allowed certain funds that release based off of different mechanisms, right? AKA pump-mentals is kind of what they would call it. So the way that we incorporated this concept of a big payday is that there's different iterations and there's different ways that this potentially could live, or this way that it does live, right? Everything is based off of location on our platform. So say for example, let's say we're talking about the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and there's 1,000 NFTs at the Golden Gate Bridge at San Francisco, and say they all cost 1 AVAX each, right? there's a it takes a certain amount of time for people to mint them, and then there's also a secondary market in where people are trading, say, the Golden Gate Bridge for the Empire State Building NFT. Every time that those NFTs are traded, a portion of those trading fees get associated, or sorry, not trading. Every time those NFTs are bought or sold in the secondary market, so say for example the Golden Gate Bridge NFT gets sold in the secondary market, a portion of those selling fees get sent back and held at the location. And when that location fully mints, right, say the San Francisco, 1,000 of them mint, right, all of those accumulated trading fees get distributed to every single current and existing holder of that Golden Gate Bridge NFT. Now, that is just one way in which we could utilize Big Payday. Big Payday is just an event, right? We can incentivize this by, sweetening the pot by saying like, oh, we're going to throw in an extra 100 AVAX or 1,000 AVAX to get that location to full mint. Because here's the thing that we do that's different and something that we have to cover for is because our NFT drops are location based, there's a higher chance that these things don't, mint out immediately like some of the faster projects. And for us, that's very much okay because it creates the experience. Like, oh, I have to travel there. Shit, I hope it doesn't run out before I get there next week or tomorrow. But we still need to incentivize that action of happening. And we also want to incentivize trading on the secondary market. So we use Big Payday as an event trigger to get people to full mint with different incentive mechanisms, whether it be through trading fees, whether it be through sweetening the pot through just kind of dropping AVAX in the pool and distributing them towards the existing holders of NFTs at any given location.
That's super interesting. I like that. And a question that actually just spawned from that is, so I'd be interested to see, like, how do you target market, like, your demographics, right? Or do you just pick random spots for now?
Yeah.
Like, how would you know where the most people are?
Yeah, good question. So with portals, we immediately, as a project with portals, what we did was we looked at all of the top delegation nodes for Avalanche. Like, this is early days. Like, we looked at all the delegation nodes for Avalanche. It's like, wait, where are the most concentrated amount of people who hold AVAX tokens are? And that's the reason why we had the top 6 locations that we have right now. So it is New York, which is the Empire State Building, the Louvre in Paris, Brandenburg Gate in Germany, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, obviously, because it's, Eminist or Gun is Turkish. What's the other 2 that I am forgetting right now? Did I say the Golden Gate Bridge? And the 6th one would be, well, there's New York, Golden Gate Bridge, Turkey, Paris, Germany, Singapore. Yeah, so those are 6.
Yeah, that's super sick. And I also saw on your website about an airdrop. Is there a certain date or I guess activities that a user has to do in order to get, I guess, qualified for the airdrop when it does come out?
Yeah, good question. So there definitely will be different forms of airdrops that are going to be launching over, just stay tuned over probably the next week or 2. The best thing that you can do is definitely join the both the Twitter and the Discord, both Twitters, right? So Lost Worlds NFT and then Portals _NFT, and then the Discord for Lost Worlds. We're always dropping kind of what activity is there. A lot of it will be a function of kind of usage of the platform before the token, but then there also may be NFT airdrops specific to projects. And there's different ways that'll happen. Some of them will be relative to kind of NFTs that you own within the ecosystem, as well as just kind of engagement with us on the platform as well. So there's some cool stuff coming down the pipeline, right? We're moving in like 5 different ways right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just joined your Discord after you said that. So
Fire.
I'm in there. I'll be locked in.
I'm glad you're in there, man. So yeah, anybody in there who wants to kind of just join our Discord and kind of help with our community building. And also one thing just as a note about our Discord, right? we're kind of like we're weirdly deep in this space, right? If you look at there's an AMA section in there, we're bringing on some of like the big projects in our like just text AMAs. We may start doing more like Twitter Space AMAs, but we do a lot of stuff in Discord, right? We had the Good Bridging team on there. We had the Appas. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Like that's kind of like the big NFT project. That's my PFP that you see as an Appa, right there. And we're the big. That's we had them kind of in our Discord, and our community is about spreading love, and so those are the types of people we want with us. So is like how do we create different forms of engagement? How do we really kind of support each other? That's kind of the way the Avalanche ecosystem is until we all become like disgustingly rich and just how like rich people are, like we all hate each other. I'm joking.
No, the Discord AMAs are from what I've seen is really good just for the growth, right? Because everyone in the Discord can participate, but on Twitter Spaces it's also really good because as you know on Twitter Spaces they just pop up at the top, right? Like you don't even have to be following necessarily you guys, just like a friend. Say I have a friend that's in your chat and then I see it and I hop in. So it's definitely a good way to grow all your social networks is AMAs on all platforms. The only one that has given me trouble is Telegram AMAs.
It's
you got like 30 plus people in Telegram.
We have a Telegram, honestly. Like we literally have a Telegram. I don't think I've looked at that Telegram once. And I think people join it but say nothing. Like we don't pay attention to that Telegram at all. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, what I've noticed with Telegram is a lot of I don't even want to say European because it is European, but it's also Southeast Asia. It's just a lot of different countries rather than the U.S. that use Telegram as a form of communication.
And in Telegram, like I'm in a bunch of like random Telegram. Like I have my friends in Telegram groups. I communicate with a lot of people at Ava Labs and Avalanche and just all of in the space in Telegram and messaging. But like the big Telegram groups, it's just a lot of shit posting and shilling in there, right? Like it's just nonstop, and like you can't keep up, and you're just like, why am I doing this? Like this feels dirty, and I don't like it. So that's I tend to like I'm usually good on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. People love coming in there to show their projects and whatnot.
Yeah,
I have to ban our Discord because they'll just come, spam an NFT project.
Oh, and your Discord,
like, okay,
just create a channel called Chill Central. Like that's what we do, and then people just know like where they can just dump their garbage, and then like go ahead, have fun over there, bro.
Yeah, that we have an off-topic, not for Base Space, but the company I work for. We have an off-topic page that people post stuff like that. And but yeah, so I just wanted to ask you where you see personally Lost Worlds in like a year or two. I know it's kind of hard to project in the future with a space that's growing this fast. Mm-hmm. But just from your personal experience, what do you think that where do you think Lost Worlds will be in about a year or two?
Yeah, I mean, Lost Worlds very specifically, like we said before, Lost Worlds is a primitive, right? Lost Worlds will be, in my view, the chain link of location-based NFTs. Hopefully not in price action, but at least in utility. It's what Lost Worlds will probably end up being the base, the base kind of events primitive, the base location based primitive, the base like kind of branding primitive for users in the space, right? My joke is like Avalanche is the better Ethereum and Lost Worlds is the better Pope, right? Just in terms of like collecting and things of that nature, we definitely see that. And we also have like some really cool like gaming alpha that we haven't announced yet, right? That I think is going to blow people out of the water, where you realize like, oh shit, these guys really might be closer to a Pokemon Go than we ever really realized. And then Niantic may come knocking on the door and then we really have to fight. So those are some of the cool things that we see coming. And yeah, my ethos, and when I tell everybody, I was like, Lost Worlds is forever, right? And that's a function of the NFTs being able to live forever, right? We use Arweave, or we're integrating Arweave to ensure that those there's long-term storage for the NFTs. as well as just making sure that we do become a mainstay within this specific ecosystem.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And just like another personal question, I guess, is where do you see NFTs in general, right? Like that's a wide variety, right? You know, you could have deeds of houses, you could have, you know, a wide span of things. Where do you see NFTs just kind of in the future?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of people following our lead. Where first, like, how do we bring NFTs into the real world? How do we bring more utility to NFTs? Right, utility to NFTs is really where you're seeing it. Like, you're starting to see a little bit of how the DeFi exposure to NFTs, right? Liquidity providing to NFTs. NFTX is like a really good example on the Ethereum blockchain. That what's his name? Squirrel needs to like move over to Avalanche. I should probably DM him that. Just because it's, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that platform where you can like stake your NFTs in like a pool and in essence get like almost like a stable coin or like a token, a liquid token that is representative of that NFT, right? So there's like, at the end of the day, all an NFT is a smart contract, right? So you can do things with it, and I think the experimentation, we're still in that early stage where creative, unique ideas are going to create really unique use cases for NFTs. I don't think people really understand what NFTs are outside of just art. Like, even us, is like, we don't want to just be an art platform. Like, we want, what if you were to drop documents at specific locations all over the world, right? We airdrop, kind of important documents, and the only place you can get them is through the app. And those are the kind of cool things that I think will happen. I think there will be a shakeout from the high art aspect of it. I don't know if that's going to come before or after a migration from ETH, ETH maxis coming, ETH kind of NFT maxis coming over to the other chains. You see what's happening in gaming and Solana, and questioning. And I'm kind of getting all over the place with this here, but it's to say, like, kind of where does the NFT ecosystem, which may not necessarily be blockchain focus or crypto focus, and they just care about like the cool aspects of things, what will they care about? Like, do they care about decentralization? Because if they don't, then Solana is going to really take off in terms of gaming, right? Because that shit's not decentralized. Like, that thing breaks all every 2 seconds, but it's fast and people like it, right? And you can find stuff over there. But if you do care about decentralization, if you do care about composability, if you do care about scalability and cool things like subnets, then Avalanche might be the place for you to be. So I, I'm it'll be interesting to see what happens as more non-crypto native people, or people whose first entrance into the crypto space is through NFTs, start changing kind of the brew of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable technologically within this space, and how that affects utility, either from the point of view of, right, true utility in a decentralized fashion, or like fake utility where it's just like, hey, we're using this entirely centralized thing and we're calling it an NFT. All right. So those are like just kind of my just general high thoughts. I probably have a lot more thoughts, but it's an interesting time to be in the space. It always is.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. You brought up a lot of great points. I think we'll slowly start seeing anything that you could physically own now that you digitally own, like just a smart contract, and it just shows ownership. And I think that's really cool. So that was all of my questions. I'm gonna pass it to you two, and we also typically do like community questions at the end if you're good on time.
For sure.
Yeah, let's do the community questions, guys. If you have any questions for Quaison, just hit that request button, and we'll let you on. We'll give it a few seconds. But Quaison, in the meantime, this has been super interesting, and like, I definitely envisioned like some sort of treasure hunt game being put on.
Too much alpha.
It's
happening, man. Like, if I'll share this, with you if no one kind of has any questions, right? Just as some just general alpha. If the big thing has been generative projects, but what if there was what would a what would location generative projects look like, right? What would that actually how would that happen? What would that look like? And those are some of the things that we've been thinking about in terms of making something like this really sticky and in terms of a game, right? Where randomized NFTs just pop up at random places all over near you, wherever you are. So, look out.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see like, hey, like visit every Chick-fil-A location, right?
For sure.
And each Chick-fil-A location has like a unique NFT, and then when you collect all those NFTs, maybe get some sort of token drop or some special reward.
Exactly.
Right?
Or, like you get a year of free Chick-fil-A if you go to every single Chick-fil-A, right? The applications are ridiculous. We have these conversations with these brands all the time, and like we're starting to build some of that behind the scenes outside of the Lost Worlds platform. But we want to build the community side first as well too. So like we definitely see it.
Yeah, cool. We don't have any questions. I guess, Quaison, if you want to like plug your stuff, like plug like where people can find Lost Worlds, where they can stay up to date.
Yeah, I was trying to plug it in, trying to drop a tweet, but it doesn't seem like it. But in essence, the best way to kind of hit us, right, is just the Lost Worlds NFT. You can see the icon right there. So it's Lost Worlds NFT. Did you guys lose me? You guys got me?
I'm here.
Cool.
I'm here.
Yeah, somebody was calling me. So it's at Lost Worlds NFT, and then Portals _ NFT, and then the Discord, the lostworlds.io is the website, and those are the best places to find us. There's like lots coming out over the next couple of weeks. Like we've just been building so much behind the scenes, and people are just going to get punched in the face with the amount of stuff that's coming down the pipeline. But stay up to date there, and share with your friends.
Let's go.
For sure. Well, Quaison,
just appreciate the time.
Go ahead, my bad. You too. Go for it.
Oh, I was just saying, like, we just appreciate you taking the time to speak to us and educate us about Lost Worlds, man. I'm pumped about this project.
Sure, man. I appreciate coming on, man. And anytime, I'll probably just pop in one day random and just start talking shit. We can talk about more Matrix stuff anytime you guys want.
Let's do it.
All right.
We do have your permission to put this on YouTube,
yeah,
correct?
you're good to go. I just don't tell my mom.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Stay based.
Peace, guys.
Peace. Stay based, everybody.